can we be friends? Man, oh man, good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's traffic jam. And we taking you home in the rain, trying to get you home as fast as possible. We got to stay dry out there. Make sure the babies are officially strapped in. No texting and driving. And we got the Women's Coalition in here right now for the Silent Secrets Revealed. And I remembered it.
Yes! I didn't even need a t-shirt this time.
Man,
I'm so proud of you.
How you doing today?
I'm awesome. I'm looking at the rain, seeing that the people are outside and they're voting in the rain, which took us a while to get here, but that's a good sign.
Absolutely.
But we're here to talk about something that when they're done voting, we're going to make sure that they're still talking about it.
That's what I'm talking about. All right, so let's go ahead and get today's episode going.
All right.
Since Silence Speaks, Secrets Revealed, a radio drama about child sexual abuse. It contains subject matter that may be triggering for survivors. Discretion is advised.
While a perpetrator like Mrs. Copen presents herself as an upstanding and outstanding member of society, her victims crumble under self-doubt, fear, and confusion. Caridad wonders about the touches, the massage, the comments about her body.
Carrie, it's almost time for singing lessons.
Mom, I don't feel good.
What happened? You don't look good. Come here. Let me feel your forehead. You're fine. Dramatic as usual. Get dressed.
Can I ask you something?
What is it?
Forget it. No,
Listen, I don't have all afternoon.
I was just wondering.
Yes?
Never mind.
Growing up and becoming a whole person is hard enough without dealing with sexual abuse. A positive child-parent relationship is always important, but especially in times like this.
Can you get a grip? The pageant is just in 3 weeks, and these singing lessons could lead to a scholarship, and you're...
It's about Mrs. Copen.
What about Mrs. Copen?
She's so touchy-feely. She's always trying to steal our touch. She comments about how sexy we are. Even the junior girls. What do they know about being sexy?
Don't dare tell lies like that. Her hands must have slipped.
I'm not lying.
Joy's been my coach and my friend for over 20 years. Longer than you've been alive. How dare you suggest such a vile thing about this respectable woman? I'm ashamed.
But the other girls said so too.
The other girls do not live in this house. And if they did, they wouldn't be allowed to disrupt things. And you wouldn't either. Get dressed.
There is no way to establish a profile of a perpetrator. They can be of any gender, marital status, social, economic background, religious affiliation, or status in society. They can look like normal people, running schools, campaigning for office, policing the streets.
Thank you for listening to Silence Speaks, Secrets Revealed. If you or someone you know has been sexually abused, please dial 911 in an emergency or call the Women's Coalition at 340-77.
Welcome to the After Show, Let's Talk About It, a live call-in talk show that continues discussing the weekly episodes of Silence Speaks, Secrets Revealed, a radio drama about child sexual abuse presented by the Women's Coalition of St. Croix. The stories are fiction based on fact, and I'm your host, Shalene Gums, and today with us we have Dr. Edward Browne.
Good afternoon.
Hi, how are you? Thank you so much for weathering the rain.
Of course.
Weathering the rain and coming true.
It's an important topic to discuss, so I have no problem weathering the rain for this.
Thank you so much.
Weathering the rain.
I'm telling you.
One of those days.
Listen, I'm saying, I looked at the rain. It was really, really, really crazy outside.
It is.
But you know, people are outside and they're campaigning, and it was so strange that in this episode we talked about they can be campaigning for office. This was not intentional, though it's true. It was not intentional. All right, so introduce yourself, Mr. Dr. Browne. I'm so proud of you, by the way. When I first met you, you were not Dr. Browne, and you are Dr. Browne now.
Yes.
So congratulations, first of all.
Yes. What do you want to know?
To tell us a little bit about yourself and how why you would be chosen for a topic like this.
Well, I mean, wow. I go back a long time with the Women's Coalition, with the American program, and then I went to UVI for a couple of years, then went to the University of Northern Colorado. I got my bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of Northern Colorado, a master's degree in community counseling from the University of Northern Colorado, and then just recently I got my doctorate, Doctor of Education, Counseling, and Psychology from Agassiz University. And so I've worked 15 years as a school counselor with the VI Department of Education, and then 10 years as a private provider with the Virgin Islands Department of Human Services, and I've worked with both children and adults who suffered from sexual abuse, in regards to adults who were victimized as children and as well as children who have been victimized. So it's a topic I know very well, unfortunately.
And that is the reason why he's here. And so, in your capacity, tell us how important relation building is with the population that you work with.
Oh, well, it's very important. You have to build trust, and you have to make the individual comfortable and feel comfortable enough to express him or herself in regards to being abused and not be non-judgmental. As the skit outlined, when the young lady told her mom, first thing was she didn't believe her because of the family friend, and that just shut her down. And that tends to be what happened, the embarrassment for a lot of parents in saying, oh, this didn't happen, Uncle Jimmy didn't do this, Auntie Susie didn't do it. But that's not true. Any one of us, can hurt someone else.
Right.
And it's so important that parents allow, their child or their children to express themselves and to be non-judgmental and to let the process go through in regards to investigating any claims of sexual abuse.
Okay. And that's very important because it is anybody.
Anyone.
And a lot of times we kind of get this impression in our head that certain people wouldn't do certain things.
Not at all. It doesn't matter your income, it doesn't matter your status, whether you're married or you're single, sexual orientation, none of that. Religious affiliation, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
So how do you personally, especially with children and in counseling, how do you establish the trust?
Just making them feel comfortable, telling them that I'm here for them, telling them that I'm a listening ear. I also tell them that if the information that they reveal to me is such that I have to report, I have to report. I'm very honest with the children.
Okay.
As a mandatory reporter, I have to report if you tell me that you're being abused in any way or neglected. I don't have a choice. And so I tell them that from the very get-go so that they understand, that I might have to, to follow up and have the Department of Human Services investigate. And what I found, once you build that trust and that rapport, the children begin to speak.
Okay.
In all the years that I've done this work, I've never met a child that just came and accused an adult of sexual assault.
Okay.
I've never. So when there are individuals who say, oh, the children they're making it up. I've never encountered that.
Okay.
I've encountered children who've had experiences and then they're uncomfortable, they do the investigation and then it's revealed it may be a misunderstanding. But I've never had a child just accuse someone of sexually assaulting them just for the fun of it. Never encountered that.
Right. And a lot of people think that children make up stories, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Okay, so where do you see the most confusion with children and students in reporting that they've been abused? And by confusion, I mean where they start to feel uncomfortable or they start to weigh in the balance, because a lot of times children become protectors of the,
because they become afraid that they'll be taken from the homes.
Right.
That, this loved one is going to get in trouble, might go to jail. They begin to feel pressure from outside forces or even internal forces, meaning in the family structure. Let's move on. Let's forget about it. It didn't really happen. And that kind of pressure can make a child feel like they don't need to, discuss the issue. So, that tends to be the case.
Okay. Because I know, like, especially with students, it becomes a we've heard, because usually if they're referred out for like long-term counseling, because being a school counselor, you can only deal with them during the school, right? So when we start dealing with them outside and even with their families, it's always that weighing the balance is like, well, what's going to happen to this person and what's going to happen to me? Does that play out in school system, and how does that show up when they're in school?
Well, sometimes in a small community, information gets out, and children can be cruel sometimes, and they begin to hear things, and it's not always factual, and then they throw stuff, at each other, and that can be very painful. Right. And so sometimes children, not to feel that pain, would just try to ignore the whole issue and let it go away.
Okay.
But it doesn't go away. Right. It doesn't go. It comes out in other ways.
What are some of the ways that it comes out?
For boys, especially being aggressive. For girls, sometimes being outwardly sexual. Because it comes out. You're hurting. You're in pain. You want to ease the pain, the anxiety, and so if you don't have a constructive outlet, you don't have someone to talk to, you're going to find an outlet.
Right.
And that's why it's so important for parents to listen.
Right.
And not be judgmental, because the children should be able to go to their parents first and say, this happened to me.
Right.
This occurred.
Right.
I need help. And then the parents need to be able to provide that help as much as possible by going to the Department of Human Services, the police department, whoever, to make sure that the abuse ends if it's occurring.
Right.
How often do you see children, come and be that forthcoming to their parents?
Which is the next question.
Well,
oh, really? Oh.
Well, a lot of times in the school system, they come and they talk, and then I get, children say the parents listen, and then you have some that don't, and then they come and they report it to me, and then I have to do my job. In the private practice environment, it can be tough, because sometimes, especially I deal with situations where they're coming in after their abuse and trying to reconcile, and when a child tells a parent, you did not listen to me,
that's hard.
You didn't help me, you should have helped me, that can be tough.
Yes.
And sometimes the parents can admit it and say, yes, I was, and sometimes they just can't. And you have to help them work through that too, the guilt and the hurt and the shame. And I've worked with parents because of the immigration status, that's a big issue. They feel like, I don't want to do that because I might get deported or something like that, not understanding that there are laws in place to protect them.
Right.
And so you don't have to be a victim, you don't have to feel like you cannot express yourself and say that something happened to me regardless of any status.
Right.
There are laws to protect everyone.
Right.
Especially from being a victim of sexual assault or abuse.
Right. And that is something that, we hadn't touched on in the last episodes, but one of the reasons why a lot of it gets hidden has a lot to do with the status. Whether it's money, whether it's the immigration, fear of being deported, fear of the children being sent back.
Yeah. Power status,
power
whether the individual is a powerful individual in the community. Yeah.
And it gets very, very touchy, especially when you feel like you're going to lose everything.
Yeah.
And so it becomes a choice too, because for the parents as well. So then it becomes hard to say, well, I believe you, even if I do believe you, because if I do believe you, then how am I going to feed you?
Right.
And so, and unfortunately, that happens a lot more often than we care to have it happen. So how do you, if a child comes to you first, how can you assist them in disclosing to a parent? In your capacity, how are you able to do that?
Well, in the school environment, that's a little tough, because once they come to me, then it goes on to the Department of Human Services and the BIPD, and a lot of times they don't come back and tell me what occurred for confidentiality reasons. In a private environment, and when, again, like I said, most of the time it's after the fact, but I still try to work with the parents and the child to let them know if something happens again, and not just sexual abuse or assault, but if anything happens, that we have to build a relationship of trust and open communication, because other things will happen in life. And so it's important for the parent to get to that point to say, I realize I might not have listened to you in this, but I'm going to make it my business moving forward to listen to you.
Right, and that is so helpful, and I'm glad that you're able to do that. So the phone calls didn't come, but the text messages have come.
Okay,
so they need your number for referral. How can I refer? What's the number? So give me the number so that they can call you.
Really and truly, I mostly do private provider work with the Department of Human Services. I don't do private practice for the very same reason. I know I would get swamped, and I'm already swamped. But I would definitely tell anyone out there listening, you can reach out to the Women's Coalition, you can reach out to the Virgin Islands Department of Human Services, BIPD. There are people there that can help you, and there are other professional counselors in the community who are in private practice who can assist in getting you the treatment that you need or your child needs.
All right. And Slick let me fail at my job today, but I appreciate him so much. He did an awesome job, and I was telling him about it. But it is a call-in show, 773-3636, 773-FM. If you have any questions for Dr. Browne, we have a few more minutes, so that if you want to call in and speak to him about it. So, one more thing, and this is a very loaded question.
Okay, loaded question.
Yes.
Oh boy.
If you had, as soon as I gave the number, there you go.
Wait. I'm 85. Hello. Hello.
And that would be the weather.
Hello, can you hear me? Hi, how you doing?
All right.
Okay, talk to me.
Wow. So how do you handle when the child makes a referral on the school level and then the family comes after you, or the parent gets the abuser come after you and either threaten you or intimidate you? Have you ever had any of those incidents on the school?
Always.
And if you did, how do you handle that? Because I know sometimes kids are afraid to tell because they know once they get out, the parent is going to come after the person they told was them. So have you ever had any of those counters, and how did you do that? And it's so nice to hear from you.
Yeah.
I would love you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
No problem. No problem. Yeah, I've had a good bit of parents threaten my life in different issues, and these two of them have been allegations of sexual abuse. You know, what I do is I just stay calm. You know, it's just words. You can say whatever you want. I mean, you're not putting your hands on me.
Right.
I mean, I let the parent vent, and then I tell them, okay, so you're finished venting, I understand, but here is the process. This is how it goes. I'm a mandatory reporter, and information was brought to me. An investigation is going to occur by the Department of Human Services, or BIPD. They're going to determine what occurred in your home or wherever it occurred, and then they're going to make a determination as to what needs to be done. That is not my responsibility. My responsibility is to report the incident, and that's that. And other than that, you can go to whoever you need to go to and get additional information. That's it. And that tends to calm the parents down once they understand the process. I mean, they're embarrassed, they're afraid, they're hurt, they don't believe it's true. So my job as a professional counselor is to calm them down. So that they become educated in the process, so that they don't escalate the situation or make the child feel that he or she did something wrong by reporting the incident.
Right. And that is very, very important. I'm glad that you said that, because a lot of times most people don't realize that anybody that does victim advocacy, and like Edward said, he was here when I first came with Carrie. All of us came to the coalition at the same time. Carolyn? Yeah. And so one of the things that most people don't realize is that people actually threaten our lives. I've had my car glass broken because I work at the coalition, and they blame us for a lot of things that are happening, but we don't go out and look for people. People come to us. So when we get information, is that it's brought, just like Edward said, Dr. Browne, like Dr. Browne said, when a child comes to you, or a family member comes to you, or somebody in the community comes and says, okay, somebody's been beating me up, or I've been raped, or I've been robbed, or I'm suffering because somebody killed somebody in our family, they're coming to us. We're not necessarily going out to them, and we help them go through the process, just like Dr. Browne said. You explain the process, this is what happened. Is the process broken? Sometimes. Because, my mantra, unfortunately, because the criminal justice system says that criminals are innocent until proven guilty, victims are always guilty until proven innocent. Right? And so we have to work with them from where they're at to make sure that they have the healing process that started, which is what he was talking about. You kind of build a relationship, help them to remember that, somebody does believe you. We know that something happens and we're not blaming you for it. It wasn't your fault.
And the key in that is no one gets a free pass.
Right.
I say that on social media all the time. No one gets a free pass. And you're seeing that now nationally with all the individuals who have been accused of victimizing women and men and boys and girls. And now they're not getting a free pass.
Right.
And so that's great. And it's happening internationally as well.
Right.
This is great because what it does, it sends a message to everyone that it doesn't matter who you are. If you cross the line and you hurt someone in this manner, there is a price to pay. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how much fame you have. You need to have a certain level of understanding that this person cannot be victimized in this way because you just want to do it to them.
Right.
We were actually just talking about a show on Netflix. They wrote the guy out of the entire season, which was based around him.
Kevin Spacey, right?
Yeah, Kevin Spacey, House of Cards, and they killed him in the last season and moved on.
Yeah.
In season 6, and it's crazy that that not that it's crazy. It's just wonderful to see that the times are changing.
Yeah, man. I mean, I always tell people I love Cliff Huxtable. I will always love Cliff Huxtable. Bill Cosby's a different apple. Right. I don't feel no sadness for him based on it, and people get upset with me for that. But clearly, based on what he did something that was wrong. He doesn't get a free pass. Nobody gets a free pass, especially with this, because like the issue is that, especially for children, when I've seen when with my clients who are now adults, it's very hard to connect. Intimacy becomes an issue. Sexual orientation, because they were victimized. Now they're like, I was a child and this was pleasurable, but I didn't really like this, and it's hard for them. So this becomes a lifetime problem. Dealing with their children, dealing with their friends. Anyone touches them, they're like, you know, well, why are you touching me? I mean, it's a lifelong process of trying to heal, especially when you're victimized as a child, and the individuals that you trust just take an attitude of, well, it didn't happen.
Right. And that is it, as I was
happened once.
Having a conversation, or it only happened once, you know, and you mistake it for something else. You know, when we start to do the psychological mind games that, you know, we play on people, and that's really, really problematic. So the loaded question, because we're nearly out of time, if you had one wish for the community when it came to a solution to this problem,
yes,
what would it be?
That adults in the community stop telling the children it didn't happen. Stop telling the children not to report.
Yeah.
Stop telling the children they're at fault and that this person didn't do it. I want us to stop that. Let the children talk and let the proper individuals investigate. Don't defend a friend who might be hurting your children just because they're your friend for 20 years. That means nothing to that perpetrator. That perpetrator, 9 out of 10 times, was looking at your child from a long time ago, and they were just waiting to victimize your child. So they were willing to give you the $50 when you need it. They were willing to invite you over for Christmas. They were willing to do whatever, and all this time they're victimizing your child or planning to do it.
Right.
So I would hope that the community no longer embrace the attitude of don't speak, don't say anything. I wish we would change that.
And I wish we would change that too. I mean, we're trying to get t-shirts that say, if you see something, say something, and do something.
Do something.
Do something. Important. Do something. You know, and just to touch on that a little bit, because you answered the loaded question very well. I'm very happy for that.
Very good.
People was stunned. You know, they're like, but, you know, when you're talking about the adult grooming for the child.
Yes.
Because that happens a lot.
It happens.
They befriend the parents.
That's the key.
Yes.
That's the key. Most individuals from the research who are victimized by individuals that they know.
Yes.
And that makes sense because they have access to you.
They have access.
They have access.
And free access.
And free access.
And most people don't realize. Exactly.
You know.
You know, I mean, and if we don't spend much time with our families anyway. I mean, and most people don't think about that. You know, in a conversation I was having in a group that I do, I was talking about the fact that we don't realize how much time we actually spend at home. Right? So you go to work, your children go to school. That's pretty much 8 hours of the day. You come home, you spend from 5, 6 o'clock, everybody goes to bed at about 8, 9 o'clock. You've actually spent only 2 hours during the daytime.
Yeah.
During the 24-hour period with your family. All these other people that you leave to do babysitting, or you run down to the store, or they're involved in sports, or they're involved in pageants like we were talking about, or they're involved in community activities, they have more access to your children than you do. And sometimes we don't really look at the fact that the time factor plays an important part in what can happen and when it can happen.
The more time the perpetrator has, the more time they'll try and victimize your child.
And unfortunately, the same way you were talking about in the beginning, in terms of building a relationship, is the same thing that happens.
Because the person makes you feel valuable, you know, and especially if you don't feel that. 14, 15 years old, boy or girl, and you're going through all these changes in your life and developmentally, and here is someone who's saying, you look so pretty and you look so nice, and you've never heard that in your life. And so you say, oh wow, okay. And next thing you know, they're assaulting you, but you think, well, I like him, or he told me, or she told me, and that's not it. It's rape.
Right. It is.
It's not okay. It's like it's not. It's rape.
It's rape.
Period.
It is rape.
It's not an adult. That's not an adult. That's a child.
Period.
Period.
Yeah.
Period. I don't care what age you are.
Right.
That's rape, and it's not right.
It's not. It's not right.
No free passes.
No free passes. None whatsoever. No free passes.
I should copyright that.
You sure should copyright that. You know, you should copyright it. And you know, the thing about it too, right, is especially in what you were just talking about, a lot of people don't realize that that's how children get involved in gangs as well.
Of course.
So we look at the criminal element and we don't look at the time frames and say, well, how come they have so much access to them? Well, it's the time. If I'm walking down the street and you're sitting down and you're hungry because whoever hasn't come home from work because they're trying to provide food,
That's
but
right.
I'm hungry while you're at work and somebody else gives me food, they're my friend.
They're my friend.
And I will do anything because they're going to be nice.
That's right.
And then because we're children, because they're children and they're attracted to attention and affection because they're trying to learn. Children are just sponges,
That's
really,
right.
for a very long time. And so because of that, then all of a sudden, it's easy to get attached to the wrong type of people.
Exactly.
And then when something happens that hurt, then the confusion.
Right.
Do I want to give this up?
Right.
Or do I not want to give this
Right.
up?
And then when you meet someone as you age who really loves you and dedicate, and they don't want anything, you're confused.
Confused, totally.
You don't know how to have a functional, intimate relationship because your first feeling is, I need to give.
Right.
Instead of saying, this person just loves me.
Right. They're not accustomed to
They're
it.
not accustomed to it.
Yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank you for
You've
having
been
me.
awesome. I am so glad that you weathered the rain to come.
Oh, yes.
So thank you for tuning in to Silence Speak Secrets Revealed and the after show. Let's talk about it. This program is funded by a grant from RALIANCE, a collaborative initiative to end sexual violence in one generation. Made possible through a commitment from the National Football League. Its contents are solely the responsibility of the authors and do not necessarily represent the official view of the NFL. I'm not going to say it.
But it should.
But it should. But, and so we thank you so much. The number for the coalition, 773-9272. You can get us on Facebook, info@wcstx.com. Give us a call. We have 24-hour advocates on call that you're able to get through to us if you need someone to talk to.
And like I said, if you are in need of counseling services, you can go to the Department of Human Services and ask them if I can have my child speak to Dr. Browne, and if it's something that can be worked out with the department, because I can't speak for the department, but I know the department will do everything to help anyone in need, then maybe something can be worked out.
All right. And if you were here in earlier episodes, you got their number. So actually, I can give you their number again.
773-5303.
There you go. They gave me that one. They gave me the one for 642-1239 as well. The 690-2886. I have a list of numbers. 642-6277. Yes, I have all of them. Call anybody, everybody, if you need some help. Just make sure that we get it out. We get the word out so that anybody that's being a victim can have some support. And believe them. Believe the children when they speak. Thank you so much. Slick, you've been awesome.
Thank y'all for coming out, man.
Thank you.
I love the fact that you guys come out each and every Tuesday and are committed, from beginning to end. So,
Yes.
Sometimes people have to do one show one time and then they leave and don't hear about it again for 6 months or a year, or until it's that time to raise money again for the causes.
Yes.
And stuff like that.
This is for the children,
I love these situations.
Exactly. It is
This
for the
is
children.
wonderful.
So thank you so much, and we're going to be here till February. So y'all get sick of us, but we are hoping that by that time...
We're not sick of you.
We're hoping that they do get sick of us saying it and then start to do something.
Absolutely.
So that they'll be talking about it and doing about it and doing about it especially. If you see something, say something, do something.
Absolutely.
All right.
What is coalition? Wait, what is this brought to us by, and what's the closing?
She did that already.
You did that already?
Yeah.
I want to hear it again.
Okay, no problem. I can do it again. This program is funded by a grant from RALIANCE, and that's because I didn't say that the NFL should have our views. Okay, this program is funded by a grant from RALIANCE, a collaborative initiative to end sexual violence in one generation, literally in one generation. We need it to stop. Made possible through a commitment from the NFL. Its contents are solely the responsibility of the authors, that will be the Women's Coalition, and does not necessarily represent the official view of the NFL, though it should.
So you know he was listening. You know
Yes.
he was listening.
I always say that. I always say though it should. And for those of you that are campaigning, we need you all to stop this as well. Enforce the laws so that the children can be protected.
True.
Fund the counselors so that the people can be protected. Because if you have broken children, you'll have broken adults. And if you keep saying it's all about the youth, fix the youth before they become broken adults, or we're going to have a broken society.
Right on.
Definitely, man. Women's Coalition, want to thank you guys for coming through. Once again, don't forget, each and every Tuesday, Silence Speak Secrets Revealed, from 5:30 to 6 o'clock is the after show. Talk show. Now, up next, I got to speak with Katisha over at Plaza Extra East. She has free giveaways. Matter of fact, Katisha's on the line. Katisha, how you doing today?